All right, Hare Krishna. So, nice to see you all. And thanks. It's nice to know a little bit about you and your history, because I understand from this you're all experienced devotees. In some ways, what I'm going to speak about today is not for real new people, but I think you'll be able to understand it quite well. You're all mature people. What I'm going to present to you today is the presentation I made when I launched my book. That was on May 7th, 6 months ago now, 5 months ago. And we made a live video on YouTube for that, no, on Facebook, and that video got lost. So I wanted to have the video again to present it, to put it back up there on Facebook. So I'm going to give you the same thing. Basically, more or less, it won't be identical. And so that's what we're going to speak about. It'll take about 40 minutes, something like that, and we'll save time for questions. So, yeah, Denmark. Nice to be in Denmark again. You know, I traveled around a lot, 30 countries, more than 30 countries. And in some ways, every place is nice. But what I want to convince you about today is that this is not a nice world. This world, nature, Krishna's creation, that's nice. The world that we live in, for the most part, is created by demons. Now, you know, we don't see demons. You know, we're going to talk about where are the demons, because the overall thesis of the book is the divine versus demonic. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so let me go back here. So, first, one thing that I wanted to mention before we get going is how this book, how I started to write this book. Back in the late 90s, there was many books that were coming out about Jesus and the historical Jesus. Holy Blood, Holy Grail. Anybody? Huh? Da Vinci Code. Let's see what else. Lawrence Gardner. What did he write? The Bloodline of the Holy Grail. So, you know, those books were coming out, and I read those, and then I pursued that a little bit more, and I come in contact with some other writers, authors, scholars actually, mainly Robert Eisenman and Hans-Joachim Schoeps. And as I read Eisenman particularly, I got a very strong sense of déjà vu, because they are talking about Jesus directly from the Dead Sea Scrolls, what those Vaishnavas were like. So I started to compare that with Krishna consciousness, our experience in Krishna consciousness, and I saw there's so many similarities. And I think, oh, this is amazing, because the most curious part is that although the religious historians, they can write about what they see in the Dead Sea Scrolls, none of them, unless they understand the Vaishnava culture, are going to be able to say, oh, these people, they were following the eternal religion. So I thought, oh, I have to do that. And I took this book like an assignment from Krishna. Spiritual economics was the same way. That is, the information was coming to me. And from within, I was feeling impelled to write. And so I take this book as an assignment from Krishna. So this is the cover of the book. And 3 years I spent writing. I wrote the first part, finished rather the first part in 2003. And then I put the book aside and start to finish it again till 2 years ago. So in 2017 I picked it up again and finished it this year. This is from the introduction. This book is about freedom. Freedom to live in the way of your choosing and understanding and belief in a reality according to your highest understanding and the truths connected with it. We think we're free. Most people think we're free. They're free. But our freedom is very restricted. If you want to start a business, can you just go start a business? You have to go get some permit from the government, right? If you want to build a house, can you just build a house? No. So we're restricted in so many ways, and we'll talk about that more. Anyway, the point is, here, can we live the way that we want? Can we actually worship and believe what we want to believe? And the answer to this question is no. And this is what the book's about. To demonstrate that there are forces in this world who want to control every aspect of our lives, particularly what we believe. Everybody knows this fellow?
Yes.
Huh? Anybody not recognize him? Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, and some would say the archetype or the epitome of all the demonic ones. Huh? And we know what his goal was, right? He wanted to conquer the universe. Not only him, but his sons and grandsons too. Conquer and control everyone. So Hiranyakashipu wasn't the only one. Our Srimad Bhagavatam is full of stories about these demonic characters and how they're always creating problems in the universe, so much so that Krishna has to come himself to keep order. Because otherwise they just destroy everything. It seems because we can't see these demons looking like Hiranyakashipu every day, that these are stories from the long, long ago, from the long past. Right? Where's the demons today? We don't, we don't see demons today, right? This happened a long time ago. We like to think that we live in a benign world. That, why? Because we want to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. So if we're constantly thinking about, there's demons out there, it's going to spoil our pretty picture. Make it difficult for us to think I'm happy here. So that might be going on in the background, but not too much. You can't live in a consciousness like that. So we choose not to see it. But Prabhupada understood this. Here's what he wrote. You can know this world is not managed by Rakshasas. And I put a couple of typical pictures there. You may recognize those faces. Prabhupada understood this. He wrote in one of the small books, Rajavidya. Do you have that book here, Rajavidya? This is an old book.
We have it. Not in Danish, but we have it in English.
You have it, okay. So Prabhupada wrote in Rajavidya, at present, this world is being managed by Rakshasas. The Rakshasas are man-eaters who eat their own sons for the satisfaction of their senses. Now great regimes have been created to smash so many people for the satisfaction of the Rakshasa senses. So devotees, some of the early devotees had read that book and they went to Prabhupada and they asked him, does that mean like people like Rockefeller and Rothschild? And Prabhupada said yes. Prabhupada understood who these people are and what they're up to. So Prabhupada writes also, one cannot judge whether a person is a devata, an asura, or a rakshasa by seeing him. But a sane man can understand this by the activities such a person performs. And further, one can judge who is a rakshasa and who is an asura by how they conduct their activities. Key words following that. Phalena brichite, which means, anybody?
Yeah, you judge the fruit by its results.
Judge by the result. And Prabhupada wrote that many times in his book, and particularly in his lectures and in his morning walks. Phalena brichite. We have to understand a thing by the result of their activities. So, very key point. So, Hiranyakashipu, when he was asking Lord Brahma for his benedictions, here's what he said: "Give me sole lordship over all living entities." He sat on the throne of King Indra and he controlled the inhabitants of all planets. This is what these people want. They want absolute control. Who's familiar with Agenda 21? Agenda 2030? This is a plan by the United Nations for their absolute control over you. Better find out about it. It's coming to a neighborhood near you, maybe sooner than you think. Yeah.
Is the one with the microchipping and is this?
That's maybe part of it. That's not really part of Agenda 21. We can talk about Agenda 21 later. It's a little off track. By dint of my austerities, I shall reverse the results of pious and impious activities. So in America, we have this phrase, "No good deed goes unpunished." Do you have some expression like that here?
Not sure.
No? Oh, yeah. Yeah. You see that many times, right? The demons, they seem to be rewarded. The bad guys are rewarded, right? And the good people, they're trying to do things like, who do we have? WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange, trying to do some good. No good deed goes unpunished. Who's the other one? The one who's in prison.
Snowden.
That was the
Snowden's another one, and who's the other one?
Assange. He's out of prison.
Assange. Yeah, okay. Anyway, there's so many. Oh yeah, Julian, right? Julian Assange. No,
Australia.
Yeah. So anyway, there's so many. You know what I mean? Right? There's so many people. They try to do good, right? Simply by not. They're not bad people. They show what the bad people do, right? And then they get punished. So kill the messenger. Yeah? You're not supposed to know about those things. So what does that say, right? Don't, you can't expose us. You can't tell anybody what we're like. We're going to hide that, and we're going to show ourselves as nice people. That's what they do. So this fellow, his name is Viktor Yesimov, Viktor Alexeyevich Yefimov. He's the rector of the St. Petersburg State Agricultural University. I spoke at his university maybe 8 years ago. Nice fellow, he came to my lecture. This is a YouTube video that I suggest all of you watch. It's in Russian, of course, but with English subtitles. And note the title on the bottom, How to Rule the World. This is a lecture that he gave to the FSB, which is the KGB, basically, the reincarnation of KGB, the intelligence agency of the Russian government. And here he's telling them how to rule the world. And he says, I affirm that it is conceptual power that is the highest level of social governing. Governing the state is performed at the supranational level. So most people think of government as, what's going on in the city hall or the Capitol building. That's not how people are governed. The point he's making here is that governance goes on at a level way above that. That's even imperceptible to people. And here he's explaining what those levels are. Conceptual power. Now he's going to go through them from the weakest one to the most powerful. The weakest one, the least favorable way of governing people is with weapons. Or here's weapons of war, weapons, bullets, guns, things like that. that's the last step to controlling people. There's much better methods. Better than that is genetic weapons. Drugs, alcohol, things like that. He calls them genetic weapons. So you've heard of the Opium Wars, right? And we didn't have a word for it, but there was a cultural war against Russia in which everybody was, all the people were basically convinced to become alcoholics, to drink a lot of vodka. And so I spent some time in Russia, and the president now, he's a pretty good guy. He's trying to clean that up. There's no public advertising of alcohol or tobacco. There's no nudity in the theaters there. So he used to be a director, one of the directors of KGB, so he understands how this thing is working, right? And he understands how it's being used against the Soviet government. So he's trying to clean it up. More powerful than that, subject I know pretty well. If you read my book, Spiritual Economics, that's exactly what I show. They control everybody with money. Anybody can live without money? Practically not even the sadhus in India, right? They're all got their hand out, need money. Yeah, it's a very, very powerful tool of control, and everybody thinks it's just natural. That's the way things should be. Still running? Yeah, that's the way things are. Guys just have to get money. And everybody's becomes focused on I and mine. Right? I am the body and I'm going to get more according to my schemes. Of course, this is the demons who created the money system. And funny thing, they have the power to print money out of thin air. But we don't. If we try to print money, we go to jail. So a few people try to print some digital money, and they're getting a hard lesson, right? Those currencies are not going to be allowed. Because why? Because it breaks the control they have over the people. Anyway, it's another way of governing money. And of course, now you probably heard our president, he says if Turkey goes and does anything bad, we're going to punish them economically. Right? So he's not going to send missiles and bombs. He's going to use economics as a weapon. And it's done all over the world, either by the powerful countries. If you want to read a good book that explains that, Globalization of Poverty and the New World Order by Michel Chossudovsky. He's a professor at in university in Canada, University of Ottawa, I think. Very good writer. He explains how economics is, how everybody is being exploited, right? The demons, they want everything, right? Hiranyakashipu, what does he want? Everything, right? And so these modern demons, they want everything, and they want all the money, right? And if you have some, they want yours. You're not going to be allowed to have anything. What our job is simply slave. We're meant to produce for them, right? My spiritual economics book, I show that they're so clever, right? They got everybody working, thinking, yes, I've got a career, but their whole life they're working for the benefit of those fellows. And every time you spend money, every time you use their money, you make yourself poorer and them richer. And we don't even know. Very clever control. More powerful than that, ideology, particularly religion. Various kinds of religious things that are, let's say, people are controlled by religious conviction. Why? Because everybody we have an inclination, we have an inbuilt, it's our inherent nature to worship God. And so they give us a God that we can worship that's going to benefit the state. Right? That's part one of the book. How to, they get people, yes, worship like this, and they're the beneficiary of it. More powerful than that is, anyone, any guesses? History. 1984, George Orwell, he taught us, those who control the past control the present, those who control the present control the future. So if you're going to control the future, you have to control the past. We're all given a fictional history, particularly our country, right? What is the history of our country? We're indoctrinated from the time we're children to think of our country, we're the good guys. And the other ones, they're the bad guys. Do you have Dr. Seuss books here? The children's writer? He writes some really cute books. There's one book called The Butter Battle Book. And it was about two neighboring countries. And in one country, they eat their bread with the butter side up. But the other country, they're pretty weird, huh? They like to put the butter on the bottom side of the bread and eat with the butter side down so that the butter comes in contact with the tongue first. This is the ideological challenge between these two countries, and now they go to war. Anyway, history, yeah. The victors write the history. And there's many people trying to fix that history, especially now you go on the internet. A lot of good videos about revisionist history, about economics. If you look on my website, I have a lot of videos on my spiritual economics website, spiritual-economics.com. Good videos that explain the real history of money. And there's a lot of revisionist history. My book, Divine or Demonic, this is also revisionist history. So, he who controls the present controls the future. The Big Bang, that's a history, right? It's an ideological history, how we evolved from nothing. And the most powerful one at all, drum roll, number one, worldview. A worldview is the most powerful weapon for controlling people. Because why? Because people adopt a worldview and they create their own constraints. This is what the world is. This is how it works. This is who I am in the world. And as an example of this, he gives the culture of India, where the Sudras, they simply accept their lot in life. They don't try to get ahead. I'm just a Sudra. Right? Of course, the modern caste system is what he's talking about, and how that caste system is used by the intelligentsia, or the more powerful, to exploit the weak. So worldview, this is the most powerful tool. Because why? Because worldview means, the worldview is meant to give the answer to all of our existential questions. Who am I? Where have I come from? What am I doing here? What's the purpose of life? This is what our worldview provides for us. And so if you control the worldview, very easy to control the people. So, all six. These are the weapons of control. Worldview the most powerful, then historical, ideological, economic, genetic weapons, and then the least, if you have to use weapons, then you're not governing properly. Huh?
Could you elaborate on the worldview contrary to historical? What is the big difference?
Okay, well, history, the victors write history. Let's take World War II, for example. Or, can I say it here? The Holocaust. Right? You get put in jail in Europe if you don't believe in the Holocaust, right? Here also? Or just Germany?
Yeah, I don't
So-
think him.
That's an example, right? Did it happen or not? You can't even talk about it, right? Now they're outlawing certain words. Yeah, what was it? The San Francisco government, they outlawed some words. Oh yeah, you know, in the street, in the covers where they work underneath the street, in our country, they're called manholes. And in San Francisco, they outlawed that word. You can't say manhole. It's a person access or some crazy thing like this. Huh? Why? Because they want to control the narrative. How are you going to think, right? It's a war right now for this. How are people being controlled by words, right? So, you know, history. You know, how you can look at history, how you can look at World War II. Who was a good guy, who was a bad guy? Now, there's some authors who are doing some very good research, and they found that Hitler was actually a pretty good guy. What was his big sin? He didn't use the central bank system. He was printing his own money. This is how he was able to bring Germany out of, you know, complete debt and economic tragedy, you know, into a powerhouse in just 5 short years.
Building up the infrastructure, yes, so he was building that up. Have you seen this film, The Story Never Told? I think that's
Yeah, there's several good videos, researchers showing. I mean, the German people, they loved Hitler. You know, what was his crime? His crime was he didn't participate in the international system and allow them to print his money. That's a crime. That's why Libya was destroyed, because Gaddafi was going to create a dinar backed by gold. And who else is doing that? Cuba. Yeah. So anybody, right? They've got this. Oh yeah, the axis of evil. I don't know if you heard about, you know, America's axis of evil. All these 5 countries. Those are the countries that did not have central banks controlled by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds. So that's why they're demons. So they engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. Demons. So they control the history. What you can think about the history. Now, in terms of ideology or worldview, probably the dominant worldview today is atheistic materialism. Starting with the Big Bang. That whole worldview that everybody's taught in schools, all the way to college. And if you try to present a theological idea, it won't fly, right? This creationism, I don't know if you ever know, what's it called? Intelligent Design. Huh? Have you read any of those books? Good. Science. I mean, from a scientific point of view, it's good. But, and so there's some Christians in the States trying to present this. They aren't allowed. Can't bring God into the picture in any sense. Not even a chance, right? Even though it's good science. And, evolution, terrible science. It's not science. It's myth. But they present it as science. So, okay. All right, here's a picture of some people. People probably have no idea who these are.
Black Panther?
Huh?
Black Panther?
Very good. Yeah, you're a good student of history. Yeah. Back in the 1960s, in Oakland, California, there was an intersection that they wanted a traffic light at because a lot of pedestrians were getting hit. So the black people in that neighborhood, they came out and they made a protest. We want a traffic light at this intersection. And the police came and beat them all up. So one of them, they formed what's called the Black Panthers, and they started carrying guns. Now at that time, there was no law against open carry of guns in California. And so they thought, well, if the police are going to shoot us, we're going to have guns and we're going to shoot back. So they knew their rights and they didn't have to use them. But what did they threaten? Okay? First, out of those 6 things of control, what did they threaten? first of all, weapons, right? They carried weapons to fight back. And then ideology. They had a different ideology. Actually, they were training people, the black people particularly, to stop drinking, to give up, they tried to raise them up morally, to stop womanizing, to be good fathers, to take care of each other. No, that wouldn't be allowed. So how did the government deal with them? They were infiltrated. Infiltrated with a lot of people. And so, what do they do when they infiltrate? They try to make them look bad, to destroy them. So the spooks go in, and when we say infiltrate, who's this? FBI, CIA, KGB, Mossad, MI5. Who do you have in your country? You got one of those three-letter
PGT.
three-letter agencies? Huh? This is how they control the world. They infiltrate everything. Huh? In Russia, in the Soviet Union, they used to have a division called the Fifth Chief Directorate. And their task was to infiltrate everybody to protect the quote-unquote ideological purity of the Soviet Union. And so it's a lot easier than fighting from outside. You go inside and you go up to the top and you control everything from within. That's how they run the world. Everything is infiltrated. So the Black Panthers, they were a threat. They got dealt with by infiltration. What about this man? Huh? Was he a threat?
Certainly.
Big threat.
Yeah. What threat did he pose?
Regardless of the world.
Okay. Look at those lists.
Worldview.
Which items on that list did Prabhupada threaten?
1 and 4 and
3, 5 also.
Well, worldview, of course. History, yeah, he gave us the Vedic history. Ideological, of course. Economic,
yes.
simple living.
Yes,
Yeah.
5 simple.
Go live on the farm.
Yeah.
Produce your own necessities.
And 5 also.
Genetic weapons, no drugs, no alcohol, no LSD, no illicit sex. So 5 out of the 6 ways that they control, the 5 most powerful methods of their control, Prabhupada threatened. So, what did they do with this gun?
Infiltrate.
They infiltrated.
But actually, also with the weapon, you said all the centers got to have the 10% got to have pistols and all those things, and we are soldiers, like I said, we are soldiers marching.
Yeah. Simple man, right? Speaking under the tree in park in New York City, a few people coming to hear him. But he became very powerful. Why? Because he gave us a worldview, a history, an ideology, a religion that were meaningful, that actually inspired us, right? And served our soul. Huh? And he inspired everybody to want to what? Live differently. Simple living, high thinking. And he criticized modern society to no end, right? So, think over the history, huh? Now, we have the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is explaining divine and demonic natures. It's not that this is some fiction. This is the way this world is going, right? We have it in the Srimad Bhagavatam, right? So much is mine today and so much more I will get according to my schemes. He is my enemy and I have killed him and I will kill my other enemy also. I am perfect, powerful, and happy. I'm aristocratic. Nobody is happier than I am. This is their idea. This is what they want. This is a reality for them. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he wrote a very powerful expose of the demons. in an article called Putana. Who has read this Putana article? Okay, everybody must read that. Well, it's in my book, so it's part of it. And Srila Bhaktivedanta explains there that the King Kamsa, he is the typical aggressive empiricist, ever on the lookout for the appearance of the absolute truth for the purpose of suppressing him before he has time to develop. The best way for atheism to survive in this damned age of Kali is in the convenient guise of religion. So, we were talking the other day about the, who are those guys from the Catholic Church?
Jesuits.
Jesuits.
Huh?
Jesuits.
Jesuits.
Jesuits, right? Yeah, who knows about the Jesuits? Yeah, Jesuits, right? Atheism in the disguise of religion. For purpose of what? Control. They want to control the world. So they infiltrate everybody, the Jesuits, besides the KGB, besides the CIA, besides Mossad, everybody's doing.
It's just a little thought. I find it, maybe it's just, I'm speculating, I find it a little, I mean, by the way, bro, he's Catholic. I don't hope I offend him. So, but I find it strange with the Pope and all those people. They have that small one, which the Jews has also. I find it just quite strange. What is that?
Who has?
This from the Vatican.
Catholic
They have the same.
The bishops have.
They have the same as the Jews.
Like the Jews have. Yeah.
Cap, the
Yeah,
skull
yeah,
cap.
Yeah.
The same one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just find it kind of strange.
Yeah, I don't know anything about such details.
No, but
You can tell me. I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, it should not be a surprise to us, especially in these days when so much is being revealed about the Catholic Church, about all the churches. There's one fellow in Canada who is exposing how the Church of Canada, in cahoots with the government, is having a genocide campaign against the indigenous people of Canada. Very interesting fellow. Anyway, there's a lot being revealed. So, no surprise, it's infiltrated. So, how do we know when a spiritual movement is infiltrated? Look, how are we going to know who's who, right? Who's the enemy? Who's the devotee? Here's some nice Prabhus, nice Matajis. Who are the bad guys? Who are the bad girls?
Saying it can be seen what you started with.
Falling
before.
apart theater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By their actions.
Lena Prechite. You can't tell simply by looking at them, right? No, you have to judge by the result. So, if somebody's going to infiltrate, how are they going to be able to have much influence? You know, Bhakta Jose washing the pots. Does he have much influence?
Have to rise to the top.
You have to go to the top. You have to at least be able to perform some way or appear to be a good devotee. Fanaticism is some way that works. And that's worked for a lot of them, right? Just be fanatical. And everybody thinks, oh, yes, yeah, I'm really advanced. Anyway, like that. Get to the high position and then, so how do we tell? By form or substance? Huh? Who has substance? What does substance mean?
Follow strictly.
Yeah,
Who's given by
To have
the-
a character.
There's principles. There's spiritual principles. Prabhupada laid it all out. Who's following Prabhupada and who is not. Right? It's that simple. Prabhupada, it's his movement, his ISKCON. He created it. He said this is how it should run. He gave so many instructions for all of his devotees, particularly his leaders. And this is how it should function. So, who's following and who's not? So, that's the result we're looking for. Who, do they have the form, the title, the position? Are they actually doing what Prabhupada wanted or not? So for neophytes get confused by form. because that's all they have to go on, right? Somebody has a title, they wear saffron, they can speak some nice words, they smile a lot. They have a lot of followers. Oh, well, they must be important. So, yeah. They have nothing else, no other basis for which to understand. So that's understandable. That's why I said at the beginning, this lecture perhaps isn't for everybody. Because some who are, let's say their faith is very delicate, this is what's called a red pill experience, right? Everybody seen The Matrix?
Yeah.
You've all been red pilled, it seems. So, but there's a lot of people who've taken the blue pill and they don't want to wake up. So, and they're resisting. So, okay, God bless them. And this book is not for them. Okay? And how do we know if, okay, we already spoke about that, getting ahead of myself. So, the whole point of this book is to talk about the truth, the reality. Look behind the facade and see what is actually going on. Philena Prichite. So there's a lot of results to judge by now. And you've all been around a long time, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We see, especially for those who read Prabhupada's books, or especially if you have read his room conversations. His room conversations is where Prabhupada trained his leaders, and morning walks. So if you read those, you'll understand his letters. You read those, you'll understand what did Prabhupada want for his movement. And then can understand, are they following or are they not? If they're not following, then do we want to follow them?
No.
Huh? We want to follow Prabhupada, right? I mean, we read his books. This is wonderful. This is what inspires us. That's what we want to follow. Prabhupada said, surrender by your intelligence, but don't surrender your intelligence. Which is what they're asking them to do now, right? What was it you were telling me the other day?
The fifth principle.
They have 5 principles now.
No, not 4, but 5.
The 5th principle is you cannot criticize the GBC.
And you have to
So,
promise that.
if you see something wrong, right? It's the 3 monkeys.
They're sitting there under the
Yeah,
altar.
they're here on the
Right.
altar.
Yeah. But actually, if you say no, you cannot be initiated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's okay. All those people who want to say no, they can come to us. Right?
That's right.
We won't require that. We'll require you to actually follow Srila Prabhupada.
That's right.
So, Divine or Demoniac, it's revisionist history. Revisionist history about who Jesus was. That whole story from the Bible is created by the Romans as a fiction to control people. And my opinion is they're doing exactly the same thing with Prabhupada's movement. They're trying to create another Roman church out of it for the purpose of controlling people. So, divine or demonic? Can be divine. Huh? For those who follow Prabhupada, it's divine.
Of course.
And that's what we want to do. Huh? Right? All right, so I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm not clicking here. So, what aspects of the Hare Krishna movement are they going to attack? They want to control the world. What are they going to attack? They're going to attack the books, right? They're going to attack even the history, the economics. No, we don't want farms. Just live in the city, have your job. Varnashram Dharma is a bad word in ISKCON. You can't say that word. Literally. I was in the strategic planning group. And there was a group, Bhakti Raghava, he had worked really hard to get Varnashram Dharma included in that points of strategic planning. but we were not allowed to use the words Varnashram Dharma. Banned.
But actually, Prabhupada, in the last stage, he said that the only thing he was missing, he was not complete, was half of the mission. It was one ashram dharma.
Yeah, well, okay. Do they follow Prabhupada or not?
No.
Okay. So, worldview. They're building a $100 million temple in Mayapur. What's it called? Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. And what's the Vedic? And Prabhupada wanted it to be to showcase the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is what? Flat Earth. That's what the Bhagavatam says. Bhumandala. The plane of Bhumandala is where the Earth is. We're located on that plane. Are they going to have that in the TOBP? No. I wrote directly to the devotee who was doing the design of that, for that presentation. I asked him, are you going to show the flat Earth or the globe Earth? And he replied, both. So how can you have both? You can't have both a globe and a flat Earth. What? What? No. Anyway, they don't want to say what the Bhagavatam says. So, in my opinion, it's a $100 million mistake. Better not to build that thing. Why? Because it's going to prove that we do not believe our philosophy. Right? The Bhagavatam says that. In fact, so many devotees in India, they're saying, people in India, they're going to come there, they're going to laugh at ISKCON. Because everybody in India accepts the Bhagavatam version. Everybody. Except the modern people.
Actually, there was also some, drawings of this big temple with a pyramid, in glass in front.
Oh, yeah.
The pyramid, they're everywhere now.
So, ideology, they're going to attack the ideology with the books, the economic, no Varnashram Dharma, ideology, the women's issue, which has come up in ISKCON, right? There's discussion about editing that out of Prabhupada's books, all these terrible things he said about women.
But actually, also now in South America, they are, marriage, this lesbian. And
Right.
And in Brazil, it was like a man marriage. I heard about that.
Yeah,
So
so,
yakya with a fire yakya.
so, from these things we can understand, right? Plena Prichite. Is this Prabhupada's movement or not? No. Okay? So, Prabhupada said, we have to refrain from unnecessary hard labor. Maybe the government will take some action against me because I am speaking something revolutionary. Prabhupada understood how the world worked. Right? And we didn't, when we were kids, we didn't understand that, Prabhupada was saying. But as a fact, he said, why you should work? Krishna is giving you everything you need from the earth. Live simply. Take care of yourself. And here Prabhupada carries on. Even Krishna was not exempt from the attack of the demons. What to speak of us? Prahlad Maharaj was not exempt. As soon as you speak of God, this opposition will come. Jesus Christ was crucified. So they are so kind they have not, I put yet, crucified me or my men. Otherwise, you have to expect these things. This is the proof that we're doing the right thing. Right? Because they're fighting back. And Krishna is attempted to be killed by Kamsa class of men in his company, the demons. So it will be there. It is already there. Don't be disappointed because that is a meaning that it is successful. But they're not attacking ISKCON anymore, are they? Krishna's favor is there because Krishna and Krishna's movement are non-different. Krishna's movement, identical. So Krishna was attempted to be killed, so there may be an attempt like that. And Lord Jesus Christ was killed, so they may kill me also. There are many more quotes like that. So, the enemies within. Who are the imposters? Plena Principe. Judged by the result. That's what the book's about. Okay, the next question is, okay, now what do we do? Yeah, okay, there's demons inside the movement. What do we do? Here's Prabhupada's answer to that. A mundane person in the dress of a Vaishnava should not be respected but rejected. This is enjoined in Shastra, upeksha. The word upeksha means neglect. One should neglect an envious person. There are many jealous people in the dress of Vaishnavas in this Krishna consciousness movement, and they should be completely neglected. There is no need to serve a jealous person who is in the dress of a Vaishnava. So, who are the enemies? GBC?
One.
Not only the command, there are a whole bunch, it's all of them.
More than that, those people are actually just, right, they're sent there
They're puppets.
from the big demons outside. Huh? The real challenge here is the divine versus demonic. It's not just Jayadvaita or whoever.
Rather not whoever.
Whoever.
Those
Pick your favorite one.
ones.
It's not them. That's not the enemy. Huh? The enemy is the demonic consciousness. That's what needs to be dealt with. Huh? And how are we going to do that? We're going to start the Hare Krishna movement again. Huh? By what? Following Prabhupada directly as he wanted. And I'm advocating a non-institutional organization. Rameshwar, he's talking to Prabhupada about the demons, how to defeat the demons. He said, we have to work very hard to defeat them. Oh yes, that is necessary. You don't sleep. Never Krishna said to Arjuna, I'm your friend, I'm God. You sleep here, I'll do everything. No, you must fight. You fight and remember me, and then I'll do everything. Huh? This is our motto. This is what we have to do. Huh? Stop following blindly. Follow Prabhupada directly. Understand what needs to be done. Work hard, and Krishna will do everything. Huh? The Hare Krishna movement is Lord Chaitanya's movement. It's Krishna's movement. Huh? We are his instruments if we will allow ourselves to be used in that way. And Prabhupada was telling us, it doesn't have to be difficult. We don't have to have big elaborate temples. There's a devotee in one place I won't mention, writing to me, he's complaining about how the temple authorities, they don't give him any money for books. They want to distribute, they want to use 50% of the income of the temple for books, and they're not getting the money. I said, well, my reply was, why go beg from them? Just get your books and, go distribute them. And you keep the money and use it for more books. That's how the whole thing was started. Huh? With Back to Godhead magazine, it was mimeographed. So books are there. You don't need a lot of capital to start, and you just parlay it, keep rolling it over, and then we do it again. And our weapon, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. So I'm calling this a spiritual revolution. And my effort is going to be to get people of the world, anybody, to understand, and it's not too difficult now understanding what's going on or seeing what's going on in the world, that the world's in a crisis. So what are we going to do? We're going to call on God for help. Huh? It's like darkness. There's people cursing the darkness, but you light a candle, right? Instead of cursing the darkness. So we need Godhead is light. Nescience is darkness. This is the masthead of Back to Godhead magazine. Where there is Godhead, there is no nescience. So I want to encourage people, okay, if you see that there's a problem in the world, let's call on God with this particular prayer, God help us. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. At least once a day, that's all. Don't have to become a monk, don't change your life, don't change anything. In the morning, when you get up to shower and bathe, chant Hare Krishna mantra as part of your regular morning routine. That's all. If we get 1 billion people chanting Hare Krishna mantra once a day, you think it'll change the world? I have faith in it. That's what Prabhupada's idea, right?
But if there's a billion demons that do the same thing.
Huh?
But if there's a billion demons, you know,
They'll be purified. Because when they asked Prabhupada about those demons, he said, does that mean Rockefeller and these people? And Prabhupada said yes. And so they said, well, what do we do? And Prabhupada said, preach to them. So, they're intelligent people. Huh? If some of these psychopaths, Rakshasa people, if they can become convinced to change, they can do a lot. They can do a lot.
What about GBC? Change GBC?
I'm not going to put any more energy there.
Lost case?
Devotee's been trying to change like that for 50 years and hasn't accomplished anything. So, okay, this book is about freedom. Your freedom to live in the way of your choosing and to understand and believe in a reality according to your highest understanding and the truths connected with it. So the book is available on Amazon. It's published by Amazon, published by me, printed by Amazon. Go to Amazon.com and search for Divine or Demoniac, and it'll come up. And please visit my website, divineordemoniac.com. And on Facebook, Divine or Demoniac, or my own personal Facebook page, Dinesh Radas. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Okay. We'll stop there. Questions? Comments?
I remember when Prabhupada died in 1977, my friend from London, my artist friend who introduced me to Srila Prabhupada, he called me and he said, now Prabhupada is gone. Now there are 11 gurus who are fighting among each other and trying to take over the organization. And don't follow them, he said. They are no good, none of them. And I just thought to myself lately that it must have been a great dilemma also for Srila Prabhupada when he started in New York City, that he had to accept so many people that he knew about the tendencies, the human nature, because we all know about Kirtananda and so many others.
That was Prabhupada's genius. He could take very unqualified people and, through them, bring Krishna consciousness all around the world. So despite their shortcomings, and all of us have shortcomings, Prabhupada was able to work miracles.
Yeah.
So,
But as you said, institutions always go bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
It goes with all institutions. When something gets too big, and
Yeah.
it's
300 years ago, there weren't any institutions. Institutions are a creation of the demons for control.
What I see when it goes institution, there's two things which happen: fanaticism and sectarianism. That's when it is institution. That's what happens.
Well, sectarianism's there even outside the institution. Many of our Ritvik friends are very
Yeah, I just
sectarian.
know them by name. I don't know so much about it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You're right. To be able to become free from sectarianism means the person is somewhat spiritually advanced. Actually. One person, yes.
Thank you, Prabhu, for the magnificent explanation about the book. It's very it's the move in the moment. So really, I really feel all kind of the points you explain. I can feel this contamination is too heavy. Sometimes I feel it's too heavy to see how the human being is going to degrade. For the demons, people is going more ignorant or blind. Of course, the powers, they made it all as possible to get infiltrate the minds, the people. And I get upset, and sometimes it's heavy to live in this moment, in this planet, in this matter planet.
Yeah.
For me, sometimes I feel, wow, because I cannot get connection outside. You know, it's not merely without the devotees in the temple. I cannot get connection, external connection with the humans, because it's easily to see for me how they are contaminated, how are the pains.
So
my
this
girlfriends.
is a symptom of your consciousness.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
A person can only see according to their ability to see. A child, for example. He can see something, but he doesn't understand. He doesn't have the ability of understanding. And as we grow and as we develop, our understanding, awareness, and consciousness increase. So there's always going to be neophytes. There's always going to be the demonic side who are trying to take advantage of them. These things are not going to change. So what I'm advocating is we don't put our energy there against them. Don't use our energy against anything, but use our energy in a positive way for attracting new people, innocent people, to Krishna consciousness. So when I say we have to start the Hare Krishna movement again, I mean just that, distribute books, bring our own people, and have a home program, like this, which in many ways is more satisfying. Why? Because it's more personal, right? And this is how we started. And it can start again like that. There's no reason why not.
But we don't have a Prabhupada.
No, we do have a problem, right? You're distributing his books. Is that
Yes,
why you're distributing his books?
That's I know, but like in the old day when he was physical there,
And so that's up to you,
Yeah.
right? That's up to us, right? Because people get faith by seeing other people with faith. We developed faith in Krishna because we saw Prabhupada's faith in Krishna. Now it's your turn. You're the person who's going to give that example and demonstrate your faith, and by seeing your faith, they will develop faith. It's the same thing, right? And if we, right? If we act correctly, Krishna will come through us, right? And other people will see us and they'll become very inspired. Why? It's Krishna. It's Krishna that they're attracted to. And if we can have that purity and reflect Krishna, they'll be attracted.
But actually, right now there's one temple in Hawaii also and other places also for the regional books like that.
There's devotees all over the world.
Yeah.
Okay, and the point is, wherever they are, my opinion is, when I say start the Hare Krishna movement again, I don't think it's going to become like original, right? Because that part's already been done. Prabhupada's taking Krishna consciousness all around the world. That's already happened. Okay, what's the next part? What's the next thing that needs to be done? Well, the simple living, high thinking, Varnashram Dharma part, that hasn't been done yet. So who's going to take that up? Or getting the mass of people to chant Hare Krishna, right? In other words, we have to, it's like a radio. Well, you're old enough to remember radios. you tune in the station. Young people today, they don't know radio. What's that? You tune in the station. If you're a little bit off, it's fuzzy, right? So you have to get right up. So we have to be tuned in to Prabhupada and Krishna, right? And then the message comes through us, like that. That's all. That's how it works.
We also mean temples or only in home programs?
Let's say, however Krishna is going to inspire you, each of us. Huh? Krishna inspired me to do this book. And I was resisting. For 14 years, I put it aside. If I write that book, they're going to kick me out of ISKCON. I knew it. So I didn't do it for a while.